How's it going, Bremerton? Josh Farley with the Kitsap Sun this morning out at the Bremerton Ferry Terminal, where I'm going to take you on board the oldest continuously operating ferry in all of Puget Sound. I've got that story along with 5 total that you just got to know about happening in Bremerton this week.
Hey, look at us, we're floating up above as the water.
Welcome back to this edition of the Bremerton Beat Blast, sponsored by the Admiral Theater. Story number 1 today, you are on board the Carlisle II, the century-old vessel that is the oldest continuously operating foot ferry in all of Puget Sound. Built in Bellingham by the Lummi Island Navigation Company, she first operated between Lummi and the San Juan Islands in the northern Puget Sound before coming to Kitsap in 1936. It was here that under the Horluck Transportation Company, 3 generations of men named Willis Neerhoff would pilot her back and forth across Sinclair Inlet hundreds of thousands of times. Kitsap Transit purchased the vessel in 2004, and after an ambitious renovation, the vessel still makes the trek from Port Orchard to Bremerton on a part-time basis. You too can tour the Carlisle II as it celebrates its 100th birthday this Saturday on the Port Orchard waterfront. Story number 2. The U.S. Navy is currently pursuing new regulations that would make it illegal to launch a drone or land one within 3,000 feet of any Kitsap military installation. This includes the Puget Sound Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility. Naval officials say it's a matter of national security, but some local drone operators, themselves licensed by the FAA, are concerned that the new rules may make it harder to deploy drones when the need arises.
It's such a new technology that it's continually growing that it can lead to, for example, life-saving as far as fire departments, police departments for their SWAT teams.
My parent company is a painting contractor, so we want to be able to inspect like this tower here much safer, much more efficiently. You don't need a lift, don't need scaffolding, don't need an inspector that's 3 weeks out. Realtors, they're using them in everyday life, so there's livelihoods in selling property these days. They're just becoming a part of our life, whether people want it in their life or not.
There's already regulations in place by the FAA as well as the Department of Defense that they do not obviously allow drones for security reasons on any military installation. That's why I hope they get all the parties involved sitting down at a roundtable discussion and talking about what can be done to make everybody happy.
Story number 3. Did you know that each and every day we shed thousands of skin cells wherever we go? It's those cells that make it possible for Kitsap County's search and rescue dogs to, say, locate a hiker, a missing child, or a person who's wandered away from an assisted living facility. On Saturday, I spent time with Sahali, a yellow Labrador retriever, and Tom Henning, a retired Navy pilot, as they prepared for when such emergencies do arise.
We're practicing. We do this a couple times a week formally and our own during the week. And we set up a search out here for Jeremy, one of our guest hiders, which are extremely important. And we went for a search just to practice finding a lost person out in the wilderness. She's quite talented, and she knows how to do her job. And it's just up to me to get her at the right place at the right time, and it's all up to her. She's the star of the show, that's for sure. The dogs have a natural ability and a natural desire to do this type of stuff. So the hard part about training a dog team is not training the dog to do what it needs to do, which is the major portion of it. It's getting the trainer educated on how to operate and get the dog in the right place at the right time.
Story number 4. 70 years ago, a stadium was born in Bremerton. Memorial Stadium came to life thanks to the efforts of its students, who against all odds were able to raise what today would be hundreds of thousands of dollars when adjusted for inflation. On Friday night at 5:30 p.m., I invite you to come out to Bremerton High School's Memorial Stadium, where we'll hear from the legends who made this stadium possible, as well as from Lance McCoy, who will take us down on the field at the high school to see the new turf. And then, at 7 p.m., the red-hot Bremerton Knights will once again take the field. The team, consisting of just 23 players, is now 4-0 and is off to one of the most impressive starts in school history. And finally, story number 5. What local celebrity had to answer questions like, what do boxers do before a fight, and what do people put atop their cereal? The answer, of course, is Nathan Adrian. The famed swimmer was on Celebrity Family Feud this past week, along with other members of the USA swim team, as they took on the USA gymnastics team. And his team ended up taking home $25,000 for its foundation. Adrian is coming off of a very successful summer in which he won 4 medals at the World Championships, and he is expected to compete in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. That's going to do it for this edition of the Bremerton Beat Blast. One more quick clip for you. If you're having a rough day, just put yourself in the shoes of this woman. On board the Bainbridge ferry earlier this week, fellow commuter Kyle Kunicki happened to notice her as she resorted to some pretty interesting tactics in an effort to disarm a car alarm on board the vessel. For the record, I do not recommend going to the level that she did. However, it seems strangely to have worked. Thanks for this week's music, Kyle Johnson of Old Clifton Road. You can see Kyle perform live at 7 p.m. at the Charleston this Thursday. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Hope to see you out at Friday's Story Walk at Memorial Stadium.
It could always be worse, you see.